The envelope was heavier than it looked, and when he finally noticed it sitting between them, his smile faded in a way she would remember forever. It wasn't fear, exactly. It was awareness. Like some quiet instinct told him this moment mattered more than all the ones before it. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and how old are you? And let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. If you truly loved someone later in life, would you dare to test their loyalty? Or would you rather live without knowing the truth? Her name was Lorraine Whitmore, 71, calm voice, steady hands, the kind of woman who had learned how to survive rooms full of powerful people by saying very little and noticing everything. She was worth more money than most people could imagine, but if you passed her in a grocery store, you'd never know it. No jewelry that screamed wealth, no designer labels begging for attention. Lorraine had learned long ago that money doesn't just buy comfort, it buys illusions, and she was done living inside them. She wasn't looking for passion that burned fast and disappeared. She wasn't chasing youth or excitement. She wanted something quieter, loyalty, consistency, a man who didn't see her as a solution to his problems. That's how she ended up sitting across from Harold Bennett. Harold was 76, a retired bridge inspector who still woke up early out of habit. He lived alone in a small one-story house, drove a truck older than most of his neighbors, and spoke with the kind of honesty that didn't feel rehearsed. When Lorraine told him she lived comfortably and didn't worry much about money, he shrugged and said, "As long as you're not worried, I won't be either." No follow-up questions. No curiosity masked as concern. Over time, something real grew between them. Not fireworks, not drama, something steadier. Coffee that turned into lunch, long drives without music, conversations about regrets that didn't ask for fixing. Lorraine found herself laughing more easily, trusting more deeply, and that terrified her. Because every time she had trusted before, money had eventually stepped between her and the truth. If you've ever been hurt after thinking you were finally safe, you know that fear. It doesn't scream. It whispers. One night, alone in her home, Lorraine sat at her desk and stared at a blank envelope. She didn't want to do this. She argued with herself for hours. But the question wouldn't leave her alone. Does he love me? Or does he love the life he thinks I might give him someday? At her age, she didn't have time for illusions. She needed certainty, even if it hurt. Inside the envelope, she placed a letter and a legal document. The letter explained that she had recently received access to a large sum of money tied to a long-standing investment dispute. It said she wanted to offer Harold a choice, a chance to walk away with financial security, no strings attached, no expectations, no future promises. The document listed a number so large it made her chest tighten when she typed it. This wasn't a trap, it was a mirror. Ask yourself this honestly. If someone you cared about handed you that envelope, would you feel grateful or exposed? She invited Harold over for dinner the next evening. Everything about the night felt normal, and that somehow made it worse. They ate. They talked. He told a story about a bridge inspection that went wrong decades ago. She smiled and nodded while her heart pounded. Finally, when she couldn't delay it anymore, she stood up, walked to the other room, and came back with the envelope. "I need you to read this," she said quietly. "And I need you to do it without me explaining anything first." Harold frowned, clearly uncomfortable, but took it. He didn't open it right away. He turned it over in his hands, feeling its weight, like he already sensed what was inside. Then he opened it and began to read. Lorraine watched every change in his face. The furrow in his brow, the slow inhale, the moment his eyes stopped moving and fixed on the number. She felt suddenly cold, like the room had shifted around her. He read the letter twice. Then he looked at the document again, longer this time. Minutes passed. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He didn't ask a single question. If you were sitting where Lorraine was sitting, would you already be bracing for disappointment? Harold finally folded the papers with careful precision and slid them back into the envelope. He stood up, walked a few steps away, and stared at the floor, rubbing the back of his neck the way people do when they're trying to make a decision that scares them. Lorraine stayed silent. This was the moment she couldn't interfere with, no matter how badly she wanted to. When he finally turned around, his eyes met hers, and the look on his face wasn't relief or excitement. It was something far more complicated. He held the envelope out toward her and opened his mouth to speak. And before he finished his first sentence, Lorraine realized this test was about to change everything she thought she knew about love, money, and the kind of man standing in front of her. Harold's voice didn't come out the way Lorraine expected. It wasn't confident or shaky. It was careful, like each word needed permission before it left his mouth. He said he needed a moment, not to think about the money, but to understand why she would offer it to him this way. Lorraine nodded, her throat too tight to answer. She watched him sit back down, the envelope resting between his palms, and she realized this was no longer her test alone. Whatever happened next would define both of them. He spoke slowly, admitting that the number scared him more than it tempted him. He said he had spent his whole life learning how to live within limits, how to sleep at night, knowing exactly what he owed and what he didn't. That kind of money, he said, would change him whether he wanted it to or not. Lorraine felt a strange mix of relief and dread. This wasn't the reaction she had prepared herself for. Then Harold surprised her. He asked her one simple question. He asked if this envelope existed because she didn't trust him or because she didn't trust herself to believe in something good. The question landed harder than any confession could have. Lorraine felt exposed in a way money had never made her feel before. She admitted the truth, quietly, honestly. She told him she was afraid of being loved for what she had instead of who she was, afraid of repeating old mistakes when she no longer had time to recover from them. Harold listened without interrupting. When she finished, he slid the envelope back across the table toward her, unopened now, untouched by signature or greed. He said he didn't want it. Not now. Not later. Not ever. He said if he stayed, it would be because he chose her, not the future that money could buy. And if she wanted someone who needed proof before trusting, he wasn't sure he could be that man either. That was the moment Lorraine realized the test had turned inward. The envelope had done its job, but not the way she expected. She saw clearly now that loyalty wasn't proven by refusing money alone. It was proven by refusing to be bought, even by fear. She reached for the envelope and pushed it aside, out of reach for both of them. Then she told him the truth she had been hiding from everyone. She told him exactly who she was and how much she was worth. She didn't soften it. She didn't dress it up. She let the numbers exist in the air between them and waited for the shift she had seen so many times before. It didn't come. Harold leaned back, exhaled, and laughed quietly, not in disbelief, but in understanding. He said it explained a lot. The calm, the control, the way she carried herself. Then he said something that made her eyes burn. He said it didn't change the woman who sat across from him, and that was the only part he cared about. He admitted that money could complicate things, but only if they let it become the loudest voice in the room. If you were watching this unfold in real life, would you believe him? Or would you still be waiting for the other shoe to drop? They talked long into the night, about boundaries, about independence, about how love later in life doesn't come with illusions, but it does come with choices. Harold made it clear he wanted a partnership, not a rescue. Lorraine made it clear she needed honesty more than admiration. By the time he stood to leave, the envelope felt like a relic from a different version of herself. In the weeks that followed, nothing became magically perfect. They disagreed. They learned each other's fears. But something fundamental had shifted. Lorraine stopped testing. Harold stopped feeling examined. The money stayed where it belonged, quiet and separate from the center of their relationship. One afternoon, months later, Lorraine found the envelope again while cleaning her desk. She held it for a moment, then tore it in half and dropped it into the trash. The test was over. The answer had already been given. If this story made you think about trust, love, or the risks we take when we let someone truly see us, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like the video if it moved you, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more stories that explore what really matters when life gets quieter but more honest.